Hey everyone, this is Manshark Sub LPs. I'm Sub, and this is my desktop. Apologies for the mess over there on the left-hand side. I think I've managed to remove anything incriminating, though honestly, who still uses Ventrilo or TeamSpeak? Wow. Anyway, we're here for a very special purpose today, and that's to look at Final Fantasy X's Blitzball stuff. I have promised you guys a bit of a stat analysis on it. So using a variety of the tools that are available to me as a recently graduated university student in engineering, thank you, we're going to go through some of that. But first, I just want to put a bit of credit down. Most of the Blitzball stuff is using ArcticFox's guide here. Now, it does say here that he doesn't want anybody using it for anything that isn't personal use. I kind of consider this to be personal use. Um, he does have a bunch of stuff about please contact me. I've tried. All of your websites are down. It's been 17 years since he wrote this. Alaska Fox, if you're out there and you don't want this thing, let me know. Just give me a comment, send me a PM on whatever platform you can find me on. But anyway, let's just go through this guide a little bit. The main thing we're interested in, the guide has a lot of like where you'll find characters and things like that, and team recommendations, stuff about the text, so on and so forth. But this here, I hope this is coming through nice and clearly. I know it's condensed resolution and everything. This here is what we're looking for. Each character goes into detail where they are in the world of Final Fantasy X, what team they start with, how many matches they're contracted for, what their salary is a match, what their key techniques are. Remember, key techniques are the techniques that you teach them to sort of level break them a little, like to get them into, you know what? It's easier to explain that if we just get on with it. Starting techniques that they have, normal techniques, level 1, 2, and 3 techs. So how this works, I think I've explained it during play before, but let's just go over it again. If they don't know any of their key techniques, they may only learn the normal techniques. If they know one of their key techniques, then they can learn their level 1 and normal techniques. 2 key techniques, you're up to level 2 as well. All 3, everything. Now, let's see if Abus here demonstrates what I want to show you. Yes, it does. Good. So you'll see here that in the normal techs, the only key tech that exists there is Grip Gloves. Venom Tackle 2 is actually in his level 1 techs, and Venom Shot 3 is in his level 2 techs. That means that Abus needs to learn Grip Gloves, then Venom Tackle 2, then Venom Shot 3 to get his last 2 techs. That's nice. Techs are important. We'll go over them when we get further into it because there are a large number of techs. In fact, we'll probably get into that after we just look at this. This here is what we're really interested in. This shows you the stat progression for all 8 stats. Initially, every 5 levels. Some characters do start at level 5, so there's no level 1 stats for them. We've compensated for that in my analysis. Until you get to level 50, at which point it's every 10 stats. 10 levels, sorry. Culminating at level 99, and so on and so forth. Just looking at it like this, you can kind of judge it, but it's a little hard to like assess who's better than other people. Like if you look at the difference between, let's see, can we tell what Abus is just from his stats? If you look at his starting stats, he's got high endurance, high shot, or high shooting, which means that he's a forward. And if you come down here to his level 99 stats, yeah, higher endurance, higher shooting. Now, Abus is a bad example of level 99 stats because he's a Luca goer. And as I know I've previously mentioned, Luca goers are terrible in the late game. So let's have a look at our guy Ronso here. I believe that he's, yes, high endurance, high shot. So he's the Ronso Fangs, one of their strikers, more forwards. And yeah, he's got 84 endurance and 80 shot at level 99. And it goes on. There's a large number of these. let's just scroll through it like this. That's most of what the guide is actually. But what we now want to look at, text. So this tells you what each of the text does. So for example, anti-drain is an automatic thing when you equip it. Costs you 10 HP to equip it, which is, I mean, look at these HP totals. Even at level 1, that'd be pretty much nothing. At level 99, who cares? And anti-drain 1 has a 50% chance to prevent the drain effect. All of the antis are 50 and 100% chance to prevent whatever. So let's go down here. Okay. Auric Spirit is a Walker only thing. Walker, we can rehire him, but we're not going to. He's not that good, except for Auric Spirit. Walker has some very interesting things that rely around the Blitzball team. Auric Spirit is one of them. See, that's a shooting technique. It costs you 600 HP to use it, not just to equip it. And that means that whenever you shoot with it, your shoot power is your shoot plus 10. Plus, if you have any of the original Aurochs on your team, all of their shot abilities are added. If you've got any, you will basically score with that. That's a really powerful one. Let's go down. Brawler lets you participate in encounters from further away. Drain Tackle applies the drain effect. Notably, I think Drain Tackle is one of the worst tackle techs because while it does absorb a lot of HP, it doesn't add anything to your attack stat. All of the other tackle effects do. Let's see, Elite Defense lets you, I think, move to intercept ball carriers from further away. I've never used Gamble. I don't think it's very good. Golden Arm is good. You remember from when we have played Blitzball, when you shoot or pass, your stat decreases as the ball travels through the water. This slows down that decrease, so it's pretty good on a forward, or on anyone really. Good morning, yeah, don't really care too much. Grip gloves, essential for goalkeepers. Grip gloves are the difference between the goalkeeper batting away the ball and catching the ball, which then affects who it goes to at the end. High risk is all right if you want to like speed level someone, but it's obviously risky. Invisible shot is amazing because it basically ensures that the goalkeeper can't block it. Jack shot, we've seen it. Jack shot 2 costs a hell of a lot to use, but you can have almost the entire enemy team on you and you'll still be able to just like get through on them. Also, it's considered an invisible shot, so if you can't score with Jack shot 2, you're not trying. The only 2 disadvantages to it: one, it takes a lot of time to animate and use, time which the clock is running. And 2, only Titus can learn it. And he learns it from a tournament or a league match or something like that. Nap Pass can put the opponent to sleep if they try and block it. Nap Shot can do the same thing to the goalkeeper. Really useful. Nap Tackle, what do you think, guys? Pile Venom, so that lets your poison be cumulative. Pile Wither is cumulative. Regen is what it sounds like. Sphere Shot is one of the better shot abilities because it adds a random effect. If you remember, we have used it before, and way back at like one of the first cinematics, when Titus was back in Zanarkand, he was using that when Sin attacked. Spinball just makes it harder. It's kind of the opposite of Grip Gloves. Super Goalie, and again, essential for goalkeepers. Basically powers up their catching ability. Tackle Slip, very important. When it says player may be disorientated after evading, all that is if you were using a tech which would add to the stat that you're using to pass or shoot, it no longer adds that. Venom stuff, it's what it sounds like. The main thing about these techniques is that it adds something to the stat you're using. Volley shot is really difficult to learn. Some characters have it as a key technique. That can be a disqualification from being on our team. We are using somebody, at the end of the day, we are using somebody who does have volley shot, one of them anyway, as a key technique, but I'm thinking we might have ways around it. Volley shot, I've never seen it actually activate. But basically, if a character with volley shot equipped is near a fumbled ball, they have a chance, 50, 75, or 100%, to then have a free shot at goal. I mean, it's a shot that I'm not sure if a goalkeeper can actually block it. I think they can, because that'd be really weird otherwise. Um, but yeah, I've just never been in a position where an enemy team has had a guy near somebody who's fumbled the ball in range of goal. Wither pass, shot, and tackle. So Wither halves a particular stat. It's pretty useful on Wither shot because it can halve the goalkeeper's catching ability if you're lucky. And that's kind of it. And then there's details of the experience chart and so on and so forth. Anyway, we're just going to go back up to the start of a player list. There we go. Because we're going to have to be searching through some of these guys. Now, onto the fun part. So, this is our team at the moment. Now, I know who we have there. I've got it up on a different screen. I know exactly who goes in each of these slots. For reference, left forward, midfielder, left defender, right defender, goalkeeper. There is not much difference between the left and the right sides, unless you're like, well, I guess I should compensate for having a weak attack left forward with a high attack left defense. But let's get into the fun part. This is MATLAB, for those of you who don't know. And in this particular MATLAB code that I've written, almost 500 lines of it, we're going to be having a super serious dive into the statistics and skills, kind of left out the skills bit, of Blitzball players in an attempt to find the superior team in all of Spira. I'll run you through it as we go. So, I have, for this field in yellow, I have a whole bunch of stats loaded up into CSV files. Those are comma-separated value files. Basically, on my Raspberry Pi, I had a LibreOffice calc document open where I manually entered all of the stats from, what's his name, from ArcticFox's guide here for each of the levels where I could. And if somebody started at level 5, I just pretended that they also had the same stats at level 1. Don't worry about it. So we've got a CSV file for each of the stats here. So we're just going to load those up. Those are loaded into our variables here. So if I open up, say, the attack variable, there we go. Now, this is pretty incomprehensible, right? Oh yeah, there's another thing at the end. But let me explain it to you. This row is level 1. This row is level 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 99. This line here is for Abyss. This line here is for Argyronso. This line here is for the next character, so on and so on and so on. This column here is intentionally blank. This here is the average of every character's stat at that level. I did it for everybody. Now, in addition to that, oh yeah, just here. So we'll run this one. All this has done is a little bit of arbitrary shit where I had to get level values down. We're actually looking at every 10th value because when you look at every 5th one and then every 10th one, it distorts the graphs that we're going to use. And we have the names. So this is in the same order that the columns are in. Abyss, Argai, Awada, Balgerda, etc., 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 all the way through to Zev Ronso. We're going to do a little bit of processing here. Don't worry about it. Now, the first thing we're going to look at is health points. So here's a lovely graph that I prepared earlier. Now, not everybody is displayed in the legend. For some reason, MATLAB legends cap out at 50 entries. And there's something like 68, something like that. You know what? I can check that. 62. Yeah, there are 62. You can tell that because there are actually no 60, because 62 includes the 0 column and the averages column. So there are 60 Blitzball players in total. Now, what we've got here, also the colors repeat each other after a while, so it's kind of useless. This black dotted line that you can see here, going up the middle, that's the average line. Everything else is, a different character. But you can see roughly, oh, and let me just clarify, HP on the left, level on the x-axis, the underneath. For all the graphs that I'm going to show you, level is always on the bottom, and the stat value is on the left. Some of the levels on the bottom aren't true, in that the labels aren't correct. Something to do with subplotting in MATLAB. Don't worry about it again. In this one it is. It goes from 1 to 99. Some will go from, say, 1 to 26, but you can roughly assume that the entire graph shows the 1 to 99 progression. The important thing is who's above who, not where they are in the stat line. Anyway, the interesting thing about this HP graph is it shows that everybody pretty much has a very similar HP progression until you get to about level 55, at which point some start spiking. You can see a real spike in here in whoever this is. We can go into it and find out. Let's see if it'll... I think we've got to use the property inspector. And then if we come in here, yeah, that's what I wanted. And then property inspector on that. Unless... Come on. Oh, it's already open down here. Right, it changed windows. Anyway, do we have an idea of who that is? Yep, that's Judah in there. I think that's one of the Aurochs. Yeah, so that's Judah. You can see they have a real spike between level 60 and 70 for some reason, and then they continue on as normal. The Ronsos, I think, if we have a look at this one, yes, this is Nuvi Ronso, Basic Ronso, Argai Ronso, Zamzi Ronso, Erga Ronso, and Zev Ronso. Yeah, they all have decent HP to start with, but then they just sort of flatten out. But the whole point of this is HP isn't really something that we should be looking at. Everybody kind of gets it in the same way, at least until the point where it's kind of like, who gives a fuck? Because, I mean, we can check, but the Ronsos all cap out at like 5,000 or so, which is a ton of HP. Unless you're Titus or Walker and trying to use Jackshot 2 or the Auric Spirit, respectively. Anyway, let's close that window. Now we're going to look at speed in exactly the same fashion. Now, speed is a little bit interesting. You'll see there's a lot less clutter on this graph than the last one, despite the fact that everybody is on it. There's a reason for that, and that's because the vast majority of Blitzball players have 60 speed that never changes. So you're seeing under the 60 line here, there's a lot of lines that are just on top of each other. Now, there are some that change that. Let's grab the property inspector open again. Thank you very much. Who's this? That's Mefuri. So she starts at 20 speed, which is pathetic, but eventually gets like 65. I think Mefuri is actually pretty good at some other stuff as well. Let's have a quick look at that. This is how we're going through this guide, by the way. Did I misspell it? Must have misspelled it. How's it? Mefuri, yeah. All right, screw it. We'll just go manual. It's all in alphabetical order, so that should be fine. Okay, just up here, probably. Mefuri. Yeah, why wasn't it finding her? That's weird. Anyway, Mefuri, yeah, so she starts at 20 speed and doesn't get more for a long time, but then eventually gets 68. And she is, I think she's an all-rounder, maybe? Yeah, she's kind of a midfielder. 88 endurance, 89 pass, 52 attack, 52 block, 59 shooting. She's kind of an all-rounder. So she's not a bad character. And yeah, her stats aren't like her techs aren't all that bad either. Weird that super goalie is one of her key techniques because she's not a good goalkeeper. Anyway, let's get rid of that. You can also see here, like, whoever this is, Nidus starts at 30, and then just between 50 and 60, just blows up and hits like 99. Now, if you want somebody who's really fast, you've got two options, basically. Datto, who is one of our original characters, and Brother, our airship pilot. Brother starts fast and ends fast. He's a great midfielder, so on and so forth, but we're not going to be using him. But what I'm doing to show you this is speed is important for some characters, but you mainly just want to be above the average, and we'll be checking that manually instead of using the graph. Now, let's get on to the easiest character to work out, the goalkeeper. You know what, let's just bring that back up. We'll keep that guide open. Here's the catching stat. Now, this, again, we've got 60 lines here. Who knows what's going on? I mean, look, even from this particular chart, let me see, did I order it correctly? Now we're going to be jumping back and forward. That's all right. That's all right. Even from this particular chart, there is a very clear, always on top goalkeeper. Now, for goalkeeping, catching is the only stat that matters. So who is this lovely character here? I mean, it's Nimruk. Like, there's no way around it. It is just Nimruk. But you can see here that there are some characters that you could get instead of Nimruk that aren't too bad. Everybody above the average line is considered a goalkeeper. But some of them, some weird things happen. Like, look at this green one. Comes up here, that's fine. We got a blue one here who comes out of the dirt and gets nice. Got this blue one here who does all right, but then just collapses back down to the average. Now, the reason why you might want to pick up a goalkeeper who isn't Nimruk is Nimruk is signed with the Albed Sykes. It's kind of difficult to get. So, let's do a little bit more diving. So we want, where are we? Goalkeeper AA, that stands for above average. I made the lines thicker for you guys as well, just so that we can sort of see it here. So here we have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 goalkeepers. So here's Nimruk, see, clearly superior. Now we've got, well, first of all, let's see, where's keeper at? I think this one's keeper. So keeper sort of, he's a shit goalkeeper. He just sort of flattens out. And this here is Wedge. Wedge is an odd character. He starts off as a shooter, as a forward, then sort of graduates to a midfielder, then becomes a goalkeeper. It's very strange. Anyway, from this we can see, let me just scroll through my list here. Yep. So obviously Nimruk, he's the goalkeeper we want. But if we have a look at this, so we don't want Wedge because he's not good at this stage. This one here, now I believe this is, you know what, good question. I don't actually know who this is. Property inspector. Nizarut. So Nizarut isn't bad. Why don't I have him on my list though? That's a very interesting question for myself. Yeah, that makes sense. Of all the goalkeepers that, you can get, actually, let me see, did I do a top 10? Did top 5. Wonderful. That'll help out a lot better. Yeah, so this kind of lets us restrict down. For goalkeepers, it's not that important. Let's have a look at the top 5. Here we are. So the problem with Nizarut, which is this line here, is that he's the worst of them until we get to a point where, we use them. Now, unfortunately, I believe I used the end stats here. So the ones I'm actually looking for aren't here because we're definitely not using Zamzi Ronso or Yumaguado or Wedge or Nizarit. But let's just close that down and go back to the above average list. I mean, let's be fair. If we hit level 99 and we don't have Nimruk, something's gone wrong. But in the meantime, in this little field down here, this character, they look like they're doing all right. Now, I believe that was, come on, click. Yeah, so that's Durin. You don't want to keep him around for too long. And in fact, I think we've decided that he's not a very good character at some point. So what about this one? This is Mayu. Mayu has great stats until 60, when she loses and everybody else wins. By 60, we should have Nizarit, Nimruk, sorry. These names are so similar. So we just say, yep, we're going to take Nimruk, or before then, Miyu. Sorted. That's goalkeepers. That's the easy one, guys. Now we're going to look at defenders. So here we have a subplot. Now, all 60 characters are on each of these. We've got attack on the left, block on the right. And just coincidentally, you can see what I meant with the axis labels down the bottom. This shows that it goes to like 24 or something like that. That's wrong. This is the full 1 to 99 range. Don't worry too much about it. So you can see where the average line is. There's good, there's bad, whatever. Let's get out of that and just go down to the above average, guys. Again, I made the lists a little bit, or made the lines a little bit thicker. We can zoom in on these. The system doesn't like it too much because it's a bit of effort. But basically, what did I do here? Yeah, so these are the two important stats, attack and block. I think I went with attack being more important, because that then inspires characters. You know what, I might not have done that. We'll work it out. Let's just go to my top 5 lists. There we go. Right, so you can see here attack. We've got Voronsos, we've got Rop, Miyu, Lina, Kulakan, and Kiri. Over here, however, we've got Ortaguado, Dayem, Lakum, Navaraguado, Parguado, Rin, Veroja, and Zalets. Now, of these, I think Rop is highest, if I remember right. No, that's Navaraguado. Good. And that one there, that's Ortaguado. So yeah, what I've done here is I've prioritized block in determining who we've got, because those are the two that we're going for, the two Guado defenders. Down here, I think that's Parguado, and then that'll be Rin, that'll be Zalets, so on and so forth. Excuse me. The reason I've prioritized block is when an opponent comes up to you with the ball and they're choosing whether to break through or to block, break through or just to do an action. If they do an action, well, the block should be fine to pick them up. The block will be up, as high as it can get, really. But they might see the block and say, no, I'd rather take the chance of an attack. And we can buff attacks, but we can't buff blocks. Because you'll see the Guados don't even show up over here. And if we go to the guide, let's search for Order. There she is. So at level 99, Ortaguado has 78 block and only 57 attack. That's all right. And her attack doesn't progress all that badly. She's in the above average list for attacks. Notably, we should be checking this as we go through, actually. The question is, what are her tackles like? So, first of all, her key techniques, really easy to get. Starting techs, that's good. Elite defense is great to start with. She starts with a good tackle, a couple of passes. Nice. In fact, she starts with all the right passes to trigger things to ante, which means that she's probably got a pretty good chance of learning her key techniques pretty fast. Also, Nap, Venom, and she doesn't get, yeah, so Nap and Venom are already available to her. Let's see. Yep, she gets Spear Shot, but who cares? She's not a shooter. The maximum shoot stat is 9. Yeah, importantly, she gets Venom Tackle free and Wither Tackle free. That's kind of what you're looking for. All right, let's find the other Guado, which was Navara. Here we are. So again, 82 block, 54 defense. It's fine. The key thing about the Guado as well is their speed is amazing. They have some of the highest speed in the game, apart from Brother and that other guy that we were looking at. Let's see, Drain Tackle, Nap Tackle 2, Super Goalie. Super Goalie's pretty easy to pick up. She starts with Golden Arm. That's really useful. Let's see, she can get Brawler. I didn't check if Order got Brawler, but she can also get Elite Defense. Let's see. Venom Pass free, Wither Tackle free, Drain Tackle free. Yep, Wither Tackle 2. Yep, that's fine. Let's just go back to Order because I want to check something. Yeah, she can get Brawler as well. Brawler and Elite Defense, very important on your defenders, particularly your defenders with enormous speeds. All right, let's just have a quick look at Nimruk. So this is our goalkeeper, our prospective goalkeeper. So he doesn't start with anything. Let's see, the key things we're looking for here is Super Goalie, which he has there. Grip Gloves. He does get Anti-Venom and Anti-Drain, but it doesn't look like he gets Anti-Wither, which is a bit annoying, but we can deal with that. The rest of his stuff literally doesn't matter. And honestly, I'm willing to let him get Withered if that's what it takes. And yeah, so he should be able to learn those techs pretty easily. All right, let's get out of this. So from that, our defenders, Order Guado and Navara Guado. And I don't have any backup. We do kind of have backups for those, but nobody that we're really caring about too much. All right, who's next on the list? Left and right forwards. So here are the important stats for left and right forwards: endurance and shooting. You can see here, there's weird shit all over the place here. You see there's this massive sort of there from someone, people shooting up, people zigzagging, just guys who don't get anything going. Keep in mind, this is all 60. The shooting one is even weirder, like what's happening with this guy through here? What's going on here? And some stuff here, and this, whatever this is, like, wow, somebody fell off. Anyway, it's as with everything, it's really hard to look at all 60 stats at once. So let's go down to the above averages. Again, pretty hard to look at. This is a little bit more refined in what we were seeing. Keep in mind, when I say above average, I'm only talking about the level 99 stats. That's why these guys are still below average until they get there. Who knows what's going on with this shooting stuff at the moment? We need to look at the top 5. This isn't top 5. What am I talking about? Why is it not displaying 5? Why is it displaying more than that? Okay, I think this is top 11 for some reason. Really? That's not right. Oh, I must have just refined it down. Yeah, I'm using arbitrary breakpoints, so if somebody's endurance is above 78, pop them in, so on and so forth. But this gives us a pretty good idea of what's going on anyway. So here we are for endurance. Now, no surprise that we've got some pretty decent stuff up here. We do actually see Titus appear in both of these stats, so that's reassuring. He isn't this green though. I think he's this green in here because he definitely does not get the highest endurance. So it starts down here and just sort of peters out to about 80. Yeah, 80 exact. And down here he is red. So yeah, he's one of these guys, so he ends up around here. Not the best. There is a amazing thing happening on the shooting side of things, which I'll get into in a second. I think we actually used shooting as a determining stat though. Yeah. We're actually taking into account 3 things here instead of 2. And shooting is the most important thing for us. Now, we could take the highest shooting stat here of 99, but there's a problem with that. I don't know if we hover over it, will it display for us? Nope. There's a problem with this. You see the trajectory. Till it hits about level 30, I think that is, it stays at 1. And then it slowly increases at an increasing rate, of course, till it finally crosses the average threshold at about, I don't know, whatever the 9th increment is. So that's probably about level 70, maybe level 60. And then it rapidly increases. It crosses over, let's say, 99. Yeah, that could be actually... Let me just get it. Come on, tell me what number that is. Yeah, actually, just after level 90, it crosses over and eclipses all the other shooters. Whose is that? Keeper. That's Keeper's shooting stat. Keeper is a joke character. Like one of those ridiculous things where if you keep him around for long enough, he's a keeper after all. He just becomes amazing. The problem with that is something I'm just going to demonstrate right now. Let's find him. Here we are. So yeah, Keeper gets 99. His endurance is shit. His attack is shit. His pass is shit. His block is alright. His keeping is abysmal. His speed is below average. And sure, and he also needs to learn volley shot for some reason. And he does an invisible shot and sphere shot, but it's like, why? Why would you do this to yourself? Anyway, so we don't use Keeper. Who's next in the list? Larbite. We are using Larbite, by the way. So Larbite has 96 shot at level 90, 99, and 87 endurance. So I think he is this one in here. Yep, 87 endurance. So he's this line here. That's decent. That's fine. And if we come over to the list and try and find him, there we go. So he's with the Killer Beasts. That's unfortunate. Yeah, he's got a flat speed of 60. Nothing to care about too much there. His attack is pretty decent for a forward at 50. If you go and look at Titus, you probably see that his attack isn't that good. We'll look at him in a moment. His block's kind of shit. Pass is kind of shit. Keeping ability we don't care about. He's got maximum HP. And his stats, his key techniques are pretty decent. He starts off with a variety of shots and tackle slip. He learns all the antis. He has golden arm, sphere shot. Let's see, what else do we have? Elite defense. He gets invisible shot and he gets all the tackles and he's got a lot of stats basically, which is nice. Let's just quickly check out Titus. I have to go through a lot of stuff here because he's pretty much in everybody's favorite team just because of Jack Shot. These are all like just people lists. God damn it. Let's go back up. I think we passed it. Yeah, here he is. Titus can learn a lot of stuff, don't get me wrong. But at level 99, he's got an attack of 23. And a block of 19. He's absolutely useless at like any sort of defensive action. Which admittedly isn't exactly what you want him for, but you know. Larbites are one of our forwards. Now our other forward, I already know this, is Velucha. So Volucha has 91, I think. Yeah, so she's this orange line here, all the way down here. So she's actually got the highest of these guys at level 1. And I mean, we've already recruited her too, so, tough. And is she in this list over here? Yes, she is. She's one of the blue lines that isn't Larbacked. She gets 83, so she must be this one here. That's average. Or not average, it's above average, but, it's not terrible. She's in a lot of people's teams as well. The only problem with Volucha is her techniques. So again, she gets max health, she moves 60. We don't have any fast forwards. She does only have 23 attack and 33 block, so she's kind of in the same boat as Titus, but she can pass. And let's see, yeah, one of her key techniques is volley shots, so that's kind of shitty. It means it's going to be very difficult for us to get to the level 3 techs for her. We just got to take it on the nose. She learns sphere shot, which is nice. What else does she get? She gets spin ball, golden arm. Let's see. Venom shot free. Yeah. Not too much to really worry about too much. Like, nothing to write home about, but she's just got good stats. So she's in the team as well. Volucha. And that leaves one position, the midfield. I think. Oh yeah, we did go into specifics later on, but we'll cover that. Let's see, where's my midfield stuff? So here's our full stats for the midfield. It's a bit more complicated because in the midfield, your attack matters, your passing matters, and your block matters. Let's just move these legends out of the way. Try not to obscure anything. There we go. Yeah, it's impossible to get any sort of guidance from that, so let's get rid of that. Go down to our above average midfielders. I mean, again, there's a lot. These are stats that generally most people are pretty decent at the end of the day. So there's not too much we can really get out of this. Let me just double check who I actually did pick. Okay, good. We already have our midfielder, so it's not terribly important, but I just want to walk you guys through how we did this. Right, that's a bit easier. So, from this, I wanted to look at sort of the defensive options as well as a little bit of passing. So you'll see here in attack, Rop is the clear victor, which is nice. In passing, where is he? He's in here, I think. Sure. And he's not actually in the block list, but whatever. Let's go look him up, because Rop is the guy that we're using. Now, apparently he's a good defender, but we're not using him as a defender. We're using him as a midfielder. Here we are. Right. So yeah, at the end of the day, he's got pretty decent HP. Not that it matters. Basic speed. Endurance is 46, whatever. Attack 73. Pass is 96, which is phenomenal. 53 block. Don't care about shooting. Don't care about the catching. Got pretty decent key techniques. Let's see. He starts with a lot of techniques. Nap tackle is there in his normal ones. He's also got tackle slip if we need him to. Honestly, if Rob's getting tackled, something might have gone a little wrong. Not really, though, because he does have 96 pass, so we should be able to get through most of that. Yeah, like there's nothing really that wrong about Rob. Not bad. Let's see what else I've got here. So we've got goalkeeper plotting specific. Okay. So here we are with Nimruk, Duran, Miu, and Nuzrat. So there's Nimruk, clear victor. Nuzrat doesn't go too badly, but he's just always eclipsed by... Okay, yeah, here's why we didn't pick Nizarut. It's going for a while. Hope you guys are getting the same thing out of it that I am. Nizarut is the 4th worst until you get to this point here. At like level 55-ish. At which point, whatever. And I guess if you really need him at that point, sure, go for it. But at that point, we probably should have picked up Nimruk. instead of Nizarut. Duran starts off better than Mayu, but only marginally, and at level 30, yeah, the separation gets real apparent. Whereas Mayu just sort of levels out. No, Duran gets worse. Okay, let's have a look at our specific forward plotting. Okay, we added speed into the list here. So let's see. We've got, oh yeah, let's just add Rop onto our little list here because we know he's there. So Larbite and Volusia. So Larbite there, Volusia there. Now, Voronsos aren't terrible. They're actually roughly equivalent in terms of endurance. And over here, you can see they're at about the same point as Iskin for shooting, which isn't that bad. Obviously, Larbite and Volusia are like here and here. The problem with Voronsos is speed. Here's our speed map. Most people are at 60. Chamois, who we haven't looked at yet, gets a decent increase, but we're not taking them. Here are Voronsos down here at 40 to like 44, 43 actually. Not worth it. You can't have slow forwards. I mean, at the start, Voronsos are all right as forwards because they can just bull through everything because they do start off with better endurance. But that quickly becomes equivalent. So Larbite and Volusia all the way. Let's have a look at the defenders. So Order and Navarra Guardo for attack, they're down here. They're not that good, but when I say not that good, that's still pretty above average. You see here they do dip below average here, but that's fine. It's going to be a bit of time before we can get them anyway. Whereas the other ones here, Rop, Lina. Rop is already a midfielder, so don't worry too much about him. But Lina, Kulakan, and Curie are all up here. It's not too bad. For block, Order and Navarra Guardo are miles ahead. Like that's a full 20 points ahead of anybody else. The other ones down here being down here. For speed, this is where things come in. Everybody else is either at 60 or for Lina 59. The two Guardos, 70, like starting at 70, going to what, 72? Yep. And then one starts a little bit behind, but rips up. And that really, I wanted fast defenders. That really sort of sold it for me. And then if we look at specific midfielders, which is a bit more of a graph, yeah, so I've got Rops, Vanda, and Tats. So for attack, Rop is just ahead of the rest of them. For passing, it's kind of much of a muchness. He does pull ahead at around here, but considering the difference between attack, the difference here with attack, and the difference here with passing, I think we're fine there. And for block, yeah, Tats is better, but Rop starts harder, and also Rop stuff is better back here. And for speed, Rop is just a baseline 60. Tats does some weird shit, but, whatever. And yeah, that really sort of brings us to the end of why we've chosen who we've chosen. Wow, that went for almost a full episode. This is, you already know, but this is going up off schedule because why would I put this up on schedule? But yeah, that's basically how things are with our Blitzball team. Let me know if you want another sort of stat analysis of how Yojimbo works. I've got one of those sort of in the works. Because that one is something that MATLAB would love to just rip through. In the meantime, though, I've been Sub. You've been yourselves. Later.